Well, happy Friday, everyone. I'm Brandi of Brandi Michelle, and today we're talking about resilience. It's such an important aspect of happiness, and I am a happiness coach. So I help really successful people who still feel like something is missing in their life to realize that success and achievement is not going to create happiness for them, that happiness needs to be a goal unto itself. And once you make happiness a goal, you set that intention and you shift that paradigm, then you realize that not only can you be happy, but that success and achievement that you are seeking is going to come to you much more easily. So, in short, it's the best job in the world. And so, during these live videos, I love to speak about things that impact our happiness and how we can shift that. Um, Before I get started, I would love to share with you guys that on the first Monday of every month, so this coming month, it will be August 7th, I do have a program called the Joy Blueprint. And the Joy Blueprint is for that person that I just outlined, someone who still feels like they're on this hamster wheel searching for happiness and would love to crack the code. So there's 20 lessons. There's also a community that you are a part of. And most importantly, over the course of these 20 lessons, you are really going to dig deep into exercises that are going to help you better understand kind of what happiness means to you, how you can more easily align with it. And we have weekly community coaching calls where you can jump on, ask me any questions that you might have, or get coached on a very particular issue. So, would love to find you guys there. I am going to put my website in the notes. So if you want to learn more, you can go to the website. All right. So now let's talk a little bit about resilience and what that means for all of us, right? So I appreciate you guys being here. And resilience is like this really remarkable trait that allows us to bounce back from adversity while also like maintaining um, a a higher vibration outlook, right? Even in the most trying times, right? And it's not something that we are born with. Rather, it is a skill that we must cultivate and strengthen over time. And it is going to absolutely impact your ability to be happy. It plays such a crucial role in sustaining happiness and also in just achieving happiness in our lives, right? And so, we want to think about it as this ability to just like adapt while we are focused on maintaining our overall mental and physical and emotional well-being through the process of a setback, right? And so what we know for sure is that we cannot avoid or deny difficult situations. They are a part of our human experience. And actually, by facing them head on, by like addressing them and moving through them, instead of trying to suppress and avoid them, we are going to actually become more resilient, right? So we want to develop that mindset like, I can do challenging things, right? And I want you all to remember that resilience really is within each of our reach. It's accessible to all of us. And so I'd ask you just like right now to pause and think about a time that you might have been really resilient, where something didn't go as planned, or maybe even worse than that, maybe something devastating happened in your life. And think of a time where you really were able to bounce back from that pretty quickly. And then conversely, I want you to think about a time where something really challenging happened for you and you found that you were kind of like down in this depths of despair, so to speak, for quite some time, right? And what were the differences? What were the nuances between those two things, right? So the more quickly that we can shift our focus and our intention back to what we're seeking, instead of ruminating about the past, the more resilient we're going to be, right? So part of resilience is really like living in the present moment, right? And so the more we reflect or spend time kind of ruminating or around these incidents that happen in our life that are kind of less than optimal, for lack of a better term, the more we're going to kind of be stuck in that kind of quagmire, and the harder it's going to be to transition out of that, right? And so we find ourselves oftentimes, right, like not anticipating these incidents in advance, right? So you don't want to expect them, but you have to anticipate not when things are going to occur, but that life, the continuum of life, is going to be full of all experiences. We're going to have some highs and we're going to have some lows. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that is part of the human experience. And when we think about life as being able to be free of difficulty, that's when we're going to more likely be put into a challenging situation, right? So the first step is really just acknowledging that challenges and obstacles are an inherent part of our experience, right? And so research shows that really individuals who acknowledge that that's a part of the human experience and then focus on being resilient are better equipped to handle things like stress and anxiety and depression. And that again is going to improve our overall well-being. So let's dig in a little bit more. I talked about staying in the present moment, but let's dig in a little bit more about how we can build this quality. So one is like acknowledging that something is challenging for us and knowing that in the moment, but also really trying to like keep our mind like more positive and on these like higher vibe emotions. So it's not avoiding it, but it's like, okay, yes, and so this really awful thing happened, and we can be focused on just like all the awful parts of it, or we can also acknowledge kind of the parts that are going to help us grow and flourish, or the good that came from that. And when we have that balance in our perspective, we're more likely to be able to move through, right? Because our thoughts and our beliefs that we get to choose are going to greatly influence our ability to bounce back from adversity. Okay. Um, and then you also want to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth, right? So if you think about like, hey, I didn't get this job that I was looking for, I broke up with my boyfriend, or he broke up with me, or my girlfriend, she broke up with me, and that was unexpected and not what I was hoping for. Um, or I'm going through a divorce, whatever the case may be, right? Whatever the adversity is in your life, you want to think about it from this perspective um, of what can I learn from this situation, and that in and of itself is going to help strengthen your resilience. So for me, anytime something happens in my life that isn't in alignment with what I'm seeking, I take a step back and I ask myself, what is the lesson I'm meant to learn? How can I learn it quickly? And how can I implement it right away so that I can kind of move forward, right? And so you really want to kind of take that. Also, right, like I said earlier, we don't want to suppress it. So if we have like these really, really big adverse situations in our lives, we want to take time for self-care, right? Like allow yourself to actually feel the emotion that is associated with it, right? So what you feel is different, from your thoughts. So you really want to feel those emotions. You want to move through them. You want to acknowledge kind of the sadness, the difficulty, the pain, right? Because through feeling of the emotion and acknowledging it, we're more able to move through it, right? But when we're kind of suppressing the feeling, but ruminating in our minds about the situation, those are separate and distinct. And so we don't want to be like in our heads about a situation as much as we want to embody that and then be able to move through it. right? So self-care, right? Like physically, emotionally, and mentally, right, are also going to strengthen us, and it's going to provide us that incremental clarity, right? And so, especially during times of adversity, we want to figure out, how do I engage in activities that bring me joy, right? So it can be dancing, it can be spending time with loved ones, it can be meditation, which we talked about earlier this week. Um, and also, right, like if it's an adverse situation that you're kind of navigating with multiple people, like really kind of like expanding who you're spending time with, so that you're not kind of like in the midst of that situation for so long, right? So that also is going to nurture yourself, because what you're doing, right, when you are like taking care of yourself and intentionally practicing and do engaging in activities that bring you joy, you're creating neural pathways that, like, even in the midst of adversity, I can find joy. And then that's going to replicate and show up for itself much more easily in the future, right? And I want to acknowledge here that, like, when you're facing really big adversities, like trauma adversities or adversities that include loss, it's really an opportunity to seek support from loved ones or even professionals if that's what you need to help you navigate that situation, right? Because that's going to also help lighten the burden, and and that builds a foundation for resilience, because it reminds you that you're not alone in the world, that you are able to kind of reach out to people to support you through these times. Um, so just a reminder, right, that we want to embrace these challenges, understand that's like this natural part of life. We don't want to shy away from difficult experiences, because there's so much learning in difficult experiences. We want to kind of like make sure that we have a balanced perspective of these things. And we really want to realize that this has the potential to really shape us, right? And help us to grow. And that is like such a beautiful aspect of adversity. Um, and I did just want to touch on briefly about cultivating resilience in children, because I think the earlier like that we have this skill, the better, and it's such a gift for them. So we really want to also teach children these very same skills. We want to teach them about problem solving on their own. We want to ensure that they actually have this really safe space to express their emotions. We don't want to minimize how they're feeling, right? So I oftentimes hear parents at parks or the like saying, "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay." So we want to back away from that. Like when we tell someone that they're okay, it really is us not wanting to, and maybe not being able to deal with the emotions that other people are feeling, or maybe not want to be part of, a scene, so to speak. But the earlier kids like really learn to move through and process their big emotions, like as they get older, as we get older, as we grow, then those emotions won't be so big, because they've actually learned to navigate their emotions. And the more that we really dampen their emotions and preclude them from feeling them and moving through them, or making it feel as though like having emotions in public isn't appropriate, these are all connections that our children will make, and we don't want them to make those connections, right? And so it's important that you both share these experiences with your kids, but also when you see other people's kids out and they're having these big emotions, like that you're not judging those children or those parents, right? Because this is actually, like, as a society, how we create really resilient beings who have this really high EQ, right? And we want us all to have that. The world will be a better place. So in closing, resilience is not just like a nice to have. It really is essential to your improving your happiness set point, right? You want to understand resilience. You want to understand like how to foster it, how to kind of face adversity head on in a way that's going to help you grow and evolve as a human. So hopefully today you got some valuable insights and practical strategies about cultivating resilience. I'd love for you guys, when you're watching this, I always hear from so many people that they were watching these. So please make sure that you like it. And also please make sure that you subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And I would absolutely love it if you just left a comment, even if you just said hello or typed in resilience. That would mean a lot to me. So again, I really appreciate you joining me here today. I love having these conversations and sharing with you different ways to increase your happiness set point. If you don't already receive my journals on the 1st and 15th of every month, please head over to my website, which is just www.brandymichelle.com, and you can receive kind of a freebie about happiness, with some happiness tips, or 5 ways to raise your vibe, whichever you choose on the website. And that will also get you all signed up to receive my journal on the 1st and 15th. So I'd love to meet you there. Thanks for being here. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful week, a great 4th, and I wish you all an amazing weekend ahead. Bye now.